Shifting our focus to Washington, where External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar currently is. He went there as the special envoy of Prime Minister Modi for the inauguration of US President Donald Trump. The visit took place amid huge politics back home. A lot of people seem to spread the impression that the presence of Jaishankar instead of Prime Minister Modi himself at the inauguration was a massive snub to India. There were memes aplenty which said, "What a slap in the face." That's right. Many murmurs and nudge, wink, insinuations were done. Well, you can't shut down the rumor mongers, but for our part, we can put out some facts. Some social media warriors in India said that India was only a peripheral presence in the US, with far more importance being given to other countries. So let's begin by telling you what all a supposedly ignored Jaishankar was up to. First, he held a bilateral meeting with the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, which is Rubio's first bilateral. And he held an international meeting with American National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, which is the first international meeting for Waltz. A strong enough indication of the importance Washington attaches to New Delhi. In addition to this, the Indian External Affairs Minister attended the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting, met the 56th Speaker of the US House of Representatives, Mike Johnson. He also met the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune. Then, he interacted with Kash Patel, the nominee for the Director of FBI, and finally topped this off with an interaction with 6 members of the Trump cabinet. A pretty full appointment diary, if you ask me. Significantly, key issues that India has advocated for were also discussed, like the attack on Hindus in Bangladesh.
It was very clear that, the Trump administration was keen to have India present at the inaugural itself, and they're clearly prioritizing the bilateral relationship. Secondly, I think in the meetings I had, it was also evident that they would like to build on the foundation of the relationship, a foundation which the first Trump administration also contributed a lot to building. Yes, we had a brief discussion on Bangladesh.
All right, so that's as far as the engagements of S Jaishankar are concerned. But let's talk about the inauguration itself. In a protocol upgrade, India's External Affairs Minister got a front row seat at the inauguration ceremony. He was seated right next to the Ecuadorian President, Daniel Noboa. In contrast, for anyone who thinks that, so what, everyone must have been in the front row, actually, the foreign ministers of the other Quad countries, let's talk about Japan, let's talk about Australia, both the counterparts of Dr. Jaishankar from Australia and Japan, the foreign ministers of both those countries, were in the third row, 2 rows behind Jaishankar. The Trump administration has made it apparent in the first week itself where India stands in its scheme of things. Jaishankar getting a first row at the inauguration was a message that was then underlined with the Secretary of State and NSA ensuring that their first engagements are also with the Indian EAM. And finally, for those saying that the PM was left out of the guest list, they should simply take a look at pictures from the inauguration of the first Trump government and of Joe Biden. By the way, even at the time when Biden was taking oath, some people tried to create an impression as to how all heads of state from India's neighbors were invited, but Prime Minister Modi was left out. Be that as it may, here is what the facts are. In 2021 also, India's then ambassador to the US, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu, represented the country at the inauguration. Because of COVID-19 restrictions, only a limited number of foreign dignitaries were invited, but India was one of them. Before that, if we take a look at 2017, when Trump took oath for the first time, India was represented by its then ambassador, Navtej Sarna. The picture you're seeing right now, that is of Taranjeet Singh Sandhu. Before that, there was Navtej Sarna who was present. And that is pretty much the trend. That's Navtej Sarna with Donald Trump. And that is pretty much the trend that was followed this time around as well. The Prime Minister didn't go the last 2 times. He didn't go this time as well for the inauguration. Of course, there were multiple engagements that he then had both with Donald Trump and with Joe Biden. Diplomacy, you would be right to argue, is far too complex to boil down to one meeting or an invitation or who was seated where. But what is amusing is how far from objectively looking at how India has engaged with the US over the years and analyzed the ups and also the downs, some people think that smirking at a perceived snub to the country is more worth their while. Whose interests are they serving? You tell me.